Great Scott, Marty. We're going back to the future. Yes. We got to check the flux capacitor and so many other things. You get that reference, Prophet? We'll talk about it. It is Back to the Future for the Rangers, and we talk about that next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. It is a homecoming for Chris Martin, who was born and raised in Arlington, Texas, has pitched all around the big leagues, but of course did call Texas home. The Texas Rangers were his home team for a couple of years during this long career, and now he is headed back as we welcome you back into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome you to the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here with Jeff Wilson. Got the Prophet Elijah Smith over there taking care of all the things you see on the screen. We appreciate him and you, and we want you to join us, please, in the chat and with the likes and the subscriptions and all the other things that you do while we do this for about an hour each day. Yesterday, somebody, Jeff, was jonesing for Rangers news, and then during the show, we had a little news. Owen White was traded to the Cincinnati Reds, but then last night, a little bit, not quite emergency podcast news.
No.
But good news and big news.
Yeah. Big in a couple ways. 6'8", all right. Chris Martin's a tall guy. Yeah. Somebody will finally be able to guard Chris Young in the basketball pickup games. And then, the Rangers, I felt needed two more bullpen pieces. Well, this is one of them. This is the David Robertson, if you will, of last year, signing on to pitch the eighth inning, be the key setup guy, and maybe close a game or two when opportunity presents itself. But Chris Martin, this is a big deal. He's been very, very good since he came back from Japan. Last year was a little wonky. He had a mental health issue that kept him out a couple weeks. Then he came back and had a little elbow inflammation that really didn't cost him a ton of time because it was kind of over the All-Star break too. But he's good. He doesn't walk anybody.
No.
He does not walk guys. And he strikes out a bunch of them. So he's still getting the job done at 38. Kirby Yates Kirby Yates is 37. Will turn 38 on March 25th. I still think the Rangers are in the market for a closer. This Chris Martin thing, he's never had more than like 3 or 4 saves in a season. So I think this isn't the answer to the closing situation. Now, if the Rangers don't sign anybody or trade for anybody, we can get into Justin's question there in a minute. I think that you'd see Chris Martin bullpen by committee, wait for Josh Sborz to come back, add to the committee, see if Mark Church develops. And then, by then you're at the trade deadline where you can go get a guy. But I still think closer is definitely in the works.
Yeah, and I think that's wise because to your point, Chris Martin has 14 career saves. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's it, 14 career saves. So, but he's pitched in very high leverage situations like in the 8th inning, like in 2023. He had a 1.05 ERA
just terrific.
In 2023, and he struck out everybody.
Yeah, the Rangers signed him back from Japan. He pitched for them in 2010 and half of 2009 or 19 when they traded him to the Braves for Colby Allard. That trade didn't work out, but he went to a contender. He's pitched for the Cubs, who had contending aspirations. The Dodgers, who are always in contention. The Red Sox, who haven't been great the last couple of years with Martin, but they still find themselves in the national spotlight, and there's some big situations that Chris found himself in. So this is a guy who knows how to win ball games and knows how to pitch. So really a good signing. And we're going to talk to the beat writers. That is, we're going to talk to him a little bit later today and see what his thoughts are. But I enjoyed the first season and a half with him. Good dude. Was glad to be home from Japan, but also in Arlington, and I think he lives out west of Weatherford, west of Fort Worth. So he's got a long commute.
Yeah.
But anyway, looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah, getting through Fort Worth these days is not for the faint of heart either.
It's not.
It's gotten more and more traffic congestion there than it used to have. That said, it's a heck of a lot closer to the ballpark here than it was to the one in Boston. Or some of the other places he's been, Atlanta included. So I'm sure he'll love being back here. And I remember that, too, from him. He just it was not lost on him how special it was to be able to pitch in the stadium that was just miles from, a couple of miles from where he grew up. And the stadium, it wasn't the same stadium, but the stadium he grew up, going to.
Shoot, I mean, from Arlington High, it's a straight shot down Randall Mill, right? I mean, it's right there, and it's cool. I know, and sometimes there's some pressure that comes with it.
Yep.
But he seemed pretty oblivious to that, and his story though is pretty good. He's a really good high school pitcher, of course. Went to junior college, got hurt. Was working in a warehouse, then got back on the mound, and everything kind of clicked. Made his major league debut, and then got the opportunity to go to Japan, and like a lot of pitchers, took advantage of it. Made himself into a better pitcher and a major leaguer, a guy that major league teams wanted. And the Rangers, the Rangers, everybody, when we're talking about Sasaki and everything, the Rangers have had a pretty good success rate of signing either American or international relievers pitching in Japan to big league contracts. It's Tony Barnett, who's book I'm reading and need to get that thing done. It's been enjoyable so far. Tony Barnett's one. Joely Rodriguez is another one. Chris Martin is another one. Colby Lewis,
I was going to say, and a pretty good starter in Colby Lewis. Yeah.
So, the Rangers have had a lot of success in Japan. That doesn't necessarily mean Japanese pitchers or players, but in Japan they have a good network that gets things done. So I see no negative to this, other than he's 38, but he seems to know that or expect that this will be his last season. So he's not gonna coast into it. He's gonna be motivated to make the Rangers as good as they can be, so that he can finish on the highest note possible.
Yeah, we haven't talked to him yet, but at the end of last season, to the Boston media, he didn't state that 2025 would be his last year, but he kind of intimated that 2025 would be his last year. Now, that said, if he has a year in 2025 like he did in 2023, he might be able to talk him into, pitching another year if you're as successful as he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, when Mike Maddox left the Cardinals after the 22 campaign, his goal was to take a step back and become an advisor or something like that, where he could help an organization drop in and just not be part of the daily grind. The one team that would keep him from doing that were the Rangers, and they ended up making a deal with him. And the pull of being home is attractive. And you find yourself in a position where you like it and get to sleep at home half the baseball season. So I could definitely see that happening with Chris, where it's like, hey, re-sign me. Let's give it another go round, because again, this guy's been really good. So there seems like there's the making for at least another season beyond this one.
He's probably not in the need for much money after a long career. But that said, a lot of guys realize at 38, 39, gosh, you just can't find those 7-figure jobs out in the real world.
Yeah, yeah, you can't. That's very hard to do. I've yet to find one myself.
I'm still looking.
Yeah. If anybody has any leads, let me know. But I'm sure he's done well and is secured some things for his wife and kids and all of that. But yeah, if there's more there and you're still getting the job done, you're not going to embarrass yourself. Then go out and keep going, keep it up.
So Arlington, Texas, home of the Texas Rangers, and there have been some pretty good players to come out of Arlington. Chris Martin, Ben Grieve, Tom's son, was a Rookie of the Year when he came out of Arlington.
Sure, Hunter Pence, probably the
biggest,
the best, the best, strictly from Arlington.
Yeah,
there are just so many. Todd Van Poppel, who went to Arlington. Martin. When I was a freshman at TCU, I was supposed to. You mentioned Ben. I was supposed to umpire a Ben Grieve game, but it got rained out.
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah, I would have been overmatched. I think. I really think I would have been overmatched. But you're going to see. Right now the best player in the area is not from Arlington, but right up the road in Colleyville, Bobby Witt Jr. This is a fertile place
amazing,
for baseball.
For a football state, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing the number of players. I just looked through the MLB list. Do it someday, or Baseball Reference, I think it was actually, and Baseball Almanac. And anyway, they list them alphabetically. You could make the case that Ernie Banks, who's from Dallas, but because now we're not just talking Arlington, Ernie Banks might be the greatest player from the area, the North Texas area.
Yeah.
Clayton Kershaw's probably got something to say about that.
Yeah, and if you want to go way, way, way back, Tris Speaker is went to Texas Wesleyan in Fort Worth. They're just throughout baseball history, you're finding guys who are from Texas. I think the hardest one to find is a catcher, but
it's so hot here. You don't want to put on the tools of ignorance. They really are the tools of ignorance in Texas. Yeah, and what I loved, there were several who were in the 1800s from Texas playing in what was then Major League Baseball, and they all had great. First of all, there's about 6 Texas, right? Tex this guy, Tex that guy, Tex, and then there was a few Sarges and a few Cowboys. Like that's when names were names.
That's right, baby.
Yeah,
I know. If we're gonna spread it, blow it open to the whole state, you got to throw in Nolan Ryan and Roger Clemens, and
sure.
But just this area, pretty solid,
fertile,
pretty good.
Yep, yeah. And you think of some of the great, offensive players from the area of late. Josh Bell is still playing. Actually, just signed a 1-year deal.
Right.
The Vernon Wells,
Ellis Burks,
sure.
Went to I believe Everman High School. Then you've got Jordan Lawler, who's a top Diamondbacks prospect who went to Bishop Dallas Jesuit.
As did.
So did Bell.
Bell went to Jesuit. Bell went there. Yeah.
So I mean, it's still going, but I mean, again, right now the best of the best is Bobby Witt.
Yeah, and you still got Max Muncy,
sure,
from this area,
Keller,
still playing. Yeah,
Keller High. I mean, we can keep going. We can make a whole show out of it. I don't know that we want to do that.
No, we probably don't want to do the whole show. Weigh in,
but we could
weigh in if you've got a favorite from around here. But it's always fun. Kind of to root for those guys, when I've known Bobby Witt Jr. since he was, a little guy, and then to see him doing as well as he's doing it's really fun.
It is. I didn't meet him until his senior year of high school when the Fort Worth paper wanted me to do a big story on him because they knew he was going to be a high draft pick. Pretty forward thinking for the Star Telegram, which was a rarity. and still is. But it was fun getting to know him a little bit, to go out to practices and watch them and catch a game. I still he made a play that I remember. It was a playoff game, and it was the first batter of the game, and the guy, I don't remember what team it was, hits a ball up the middle, leadoff guy. It was a slow roller, but Bobby went and got it from shortstop, and the kid kind of relaxed. Bobby whipped the ball behind him to first, and they almost got him at first. I was like, that's the smartest play I think I've ever seen a guy make.
Yeah.
Then he hit a ball off the top of the wall, stole a bunch of bases, closed out the game, throwing 95.
Wow.
So that was pretty fun. His dad is just the best guy.
He's the greatest guy.
He's funny.
It's unbelievable. What a nice guy. for a long big league career. Spent some time as an agent. Now I think he just follows his son around and watches him play.
Well, he's his son's agent, so that's nice.
That helps. Yeah, you made that one reference to Todd Van Poppel. I my first year covering sports in Texas, I went and covered in Austin the state semifinal game. It wasn't the final, and it was Todd Van Poppel against Todd Ritchie from Duncanville.
Sure.
And it was a pitcher's duel. It was unbelievable, and the Duncanville team won it with a walk-off homer, like a low score. Might have been 1-0, might have been 2-1 in the 10th inning. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, Duncanville, and everybody talks about their football and basketball teams now. They were a big baseball team. David Need,
Mike Bassick.
Baby. Let's go.
Let's don't forget about Kerry Wood either from Grand Prairie.
Right, of course.
There's been a lot of guys from this area that have. Yeah, like we hear the peanut gallery over here cheering Bassick. We always cheer Bassick too. We love the guy. So anyway, another North Texan is coming back to North Texas to pitch for the Rangers. It's a good thing. We don't think they're done, but we do know this: they are done with their front office moves. There was an announcement yesterday. We'll talk about it next and get to a lot more as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. But the Empire Today, I always like being out on this set for the reason that I can look down and just see how great these Empire Today floors look. They're fantastic. They got all this heavy equipment on them. They've got, and they're not scuffed up at all. They're beautiful. They're well, maintained. They're well, put in, whatever you call it, installed. Thank you. Well installed.
There you go.
Yeah, you did. Thank you for not helping me with installed.
You're welcome.
But I came up with it myself. But anyway, love these floors. You would too. Get them for your home. Empire Today. They're so easy to work with. They're the first. They're the best. They're the originator. Everybody else is just playing catch up. EmpireToday.com. Use the promo code DLLS, and you have an opportunity to get $350 off your new floors. So go to EmpireToday.com today and get you some new flooring.
Rare day yesterday, John. I did not do anything on the sleeper app.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I looked
You're not
around.
in Colorado anymore.
I looked around, but I just didn't.
Nothing there.
Was distracted. No, there was something there. I don't know. Something. Anyway, but I'll be back at it here in a little bit. Sleeper. If we've said it 1,000 times. Great at fantasy, but now getting into the daily picks. Here's one. Will Nikola Jokic have more or less than 51.5 combination of points, rebounds, and assists? That's a tough one.
That really is a tough one.
But like I said,
who are they playing? Does it say?
They're playing the Celtics. So
tough game. Yeah.
So I'm like I said, I'm the double guy. Those are my favorite matchups. But you can do NFL. I can't wait for baseball season, college football if you want to do the Texas thing. So anyway, use the code DLLS Rangers to get a $100 first match deposit when you go to Sleeper.
So the Rangers did yesterday finalize what they will be doing with their front, not just their front office, but their minor leagues. I mean, basically the front office of the entire organization, Jeff.
Yeah, these guys are I don't know what the right word, unsung heroes. The guys who run the minor leagues. They have, when you include the Dominican, they have around 200 players that they're in charge of, and that's a lot of video. That's a lot of attention you've got to give to guys. These are the minor league coordinators. A lot of people call them roving instructors. They can drop in on a affiliate at any time and spend time with them. Kenny Holmberg has been the field coordinator and the infield coordinator for years. John Goebel is now stepping up to replace Jordan Teagues as the pitching coordinator. Goebel's also going to be the AAA pitching coach. He was at AA last year. Cody Atkinson, still the director of hitting. Josh Young and Cody Atkinson have a real strong relationship. Eric Dorton's back as the hitting coordinator. Garrett Kennedy is the catching coordinator. These are all guys that just work tirelessly, and they have their group of people. They get daily reports and daily phone calls over what's happening with every player at every affiliate. These are pretty vital positions for any organization. Another thing that has really stood out about the Rangers farm system the last handful of years is the continuity with the coaches. You don't see a lot of turnover with these coaching staffs, and the managers are again the same as they've been. I think this is 3 years running now. You have Doug Davis at AAA, the great Carlos Cordoza back at AA, Chad Comer, who I believe lives in Mansfield. He's going to be at High A Hub City. Let's recall Hub City in South Carolina, the Spartan Burgers.
Yeah.
And then Carlos Maldonado's back at Low A Hickory. And so it's a good group of coaches. Obviously, there's some diversity there. The Rangers recognize that Latin American players and prospects need as much help as they can get with the language as they're coming over. Carlos can speak and Spanish, translates for us. He's from Puerto Rico. Maldonado has done some translating for media in the past with these lower level guys, but the message stays the same. You don't have anybody in there rocking the boat or learning the message. It's the same from low A to AAA, and I think that's a big deal as these players try to learn the Rangers way, as Chris Young likes to call it. So always good to have this done. And it usually gets done about this time of year. The next thing probably from the minor leagues, they're in the middle of a dead period right now, so that's about to end. And once it does, they'll start having hitting and pitching mini camps in Arizona. They might bring some prospects in as they've done in the past for like leadership type ceremonies or meetings. They've done that at Globe Life Field the last few years with some of the upper level prospects. And then these guys are going to start heading to Arizona to get ready for spring training. Minor leaguers will be there'll be some internal non-roster camp invites to big league camp this year. You'd expect Dane Acker would be a chief among them. Blaine Krim will get an invite. Guys who are going to play a lot early in those Cactus League games as major leaguers. The guys who are on the team get their 2 or 3 at bats, and the pitchers throw their 1 or 2 innings. And there'll be a whole team of guys down there for Bruce Bochy and Mike Maddox to choose from until minor league camp starts, usually the first week of March.
Yeah, and don't discount how important it is for these young men to have Spanish-speaking managers in this case, but really all the coaches and stuff. I remember when I was still at Fox, I went one time and I was just trying to do a feature with mostly with Elvis, but Elvis and Nelly. One other guy came. I can't remember exactly who. And there's a place in Tampa where they make arepas, which is their favorite, especially from Venezuela. That's Elvis's favorite dish. So we went to this place and sat and had lunch, having had arepas, which are great. But the point is, during the course of the lunch, they all started talking about when they first got here. And they made so many mistakes with the language. And here's big, strong Nelly Cruz, now speaking fluent English, saying, it was so scary. I mean, I was scared because I'd made so many mistakes with the English and people laughed at me. And Elvis was saying the same thing. It's huge. First of all, for them to have somebody who can help them with that. But then B, they just feel so much more empowered to learn the language. And I think it's really good now that most of them do. Yeah,
I can speak a little Spanish, but I've never been submersed into a situation where you got to do it to survive. It probably would help me,
It would. I said that since 90, I've been saying, I've got to learn Spanish.
Well, Elvis, of course, says that he learned how to speak English through country music.
Yeah.
And, I'm curious, though, if Robinson Chirino might have been your third.
No.
Because his uncle runs 2 restaurants in downtown St. Pete, and one of them is Spanish and one of them is
and we stayed in St. Pete. This was out on the pier in St. Pete there.
Yeah, but I mean, all these guys, and it's so admirable when they finally do feel the confidence or recognize, if I'm going to get better, I got to start talking all the time. Jose Leclerc is the guy who comes to mind as the most recent one. Abby Ortiz, the prospect, he's trying to do more interviews in English. And again, I've been saying it since 2007, I guess, that I need to learn Spanish, and still haven't done it. So bravo to these guys. But
no doubt.
Part of when the players in Latin America sign, they are given English classes.
Yeah,
they take classes at the academy, basic stuff, of course, but it's a foundation. They need to be able to communicate with English speaking infielders or catchers, and obviously coaches. So they're up against it when it comes to the communication part of it. But again, these staffs, guys that you just look at their name like, man, these guys have been around the organization forever, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, a guy like Kenny Holmberg, fourth year as the coordinator now. So is he based in Arlington?
No, he lives in Arizona.
Okay,
a lot of these guys live in Arizona full time. Kenny's been a manager, AAA not that long ago. He's been a manager, coach, but he seems to really like this role. And Carlos, who his wife had a baby not that long ago. He lives in they have a family friend in Richardson who has an extra, like a guest house, and so that's where he stays during the baseball season. But these guys work so hard. That's the other thing.
That's the thing.
Carlos, if you go out and watch a Frisco workout in the middle of the summer, he's out there in long sleeves. He's got a hood over his head and a big floppy hat, and he's just running them through it. Ground balls, fielding drills, all kinds of stuff. And especially in the minor leagues, these players get energy from their coaches, and you've got to love player development, and it is an exciting thing to see what a guy looks like on opening day, and what he looks like when the season ends. And in Carlos's case, he's been at AA for a while, but he moved up along with some of these players that he had last year from low A to high A to where he's at now in Frisco. So that continuity, it has to help. There's a question about, does it help develop pitchers? Pitching develops in such a different spot right now because designing, there's designer pitches and just trying to find grips that work differently, which is, I believe, what happened with Teodo this year with John Goebel. So, but yeah, I mean, if you know the guy, you're going to trust the guy telling you this. Hey, why don't you try this with your slider? So let's see if it works. Let's keep working on it. And if you've known him for a while, I'm like, all right, yeah, let's give it a shot. It definitely helps everybody, and to do the work and everything like that with the hitting coaches. And they see a guy in a slump, they want to get him out too. It's not just in the majors where these guys get the heavy coaching. They get it even heavier, you could argue, in the minors.
Yeah, and if you look at like a AA coaching staff, right, whereas there are hitting coaches and assistant hitting coaches and offensive coordinators and that at the big league level, right? You might have 3 or 4. There's 4 other coaches besides the manager, and then there is a trainer and a guy in charge of conditioning. But these, relatively, and again, old time minor league coaches would laugh, but but these are Spartan staffs, really, compared to what we're used to in the big leagues now, with only 2 or 3 or maybe 4 other coaches in addition to the manager.
Sure, and since I've gotten on the beat, they've gotten beefier staffs, and they're development coaches, guys who just will are an extra hand,
Yes.
But Carlos Cardoza and a lot of the managers are also the third base coach.
That's right.
And it's not just sitting back and letting the rest of your staff do all the work. It's all hands on deck down there.
It is, and it's a worthwhile endeavor. It is how these guys get developed. Our buddy Steve Buechele was a manager at Bakersfield back when the Rangers actually had an affiliate in hell. And at least that's how he determined. But you know what? He's from California. He didn't really mind it. When you talk to players or to other coaching types who were in that league and had to go to Bakersfield, they were like, "Oh my God, that is the worst place in the world." Boo didn't mind it, but the thing he loved the thing he loved the best was working with the players, right? Developing the players. And then, he would have this sense of pride, as he should, when they made it not only to the big leagues, but when they had success at that level.
Yeah, nobody does it on their own. These players don't just roll out of bed and boof, they're in the major leagues. Even the college guys have things that, they're more advanced, but they have things they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Malcolm Moore, the first rounder this last year, he talked about he's learned more about catching in a month than he did during his time at Stanford. So, hats off to these guys.
Yeah, and that's a bunch of brainiacs at Stanford, by God. So, right, if you're learning more in a month, but I get that. I remember when I first got out of college, I did an internship, and it was like, I learned more in like 3 days than I learned in 4 years.
Did I go to college? Yeah.
So anyway, we understand it. We get it. More coming. We've got our Now Pitching segment yet. You'll be excited. It's a young, up-and-coming stud who we're talking about next. And lots to get to on our batting cleanup segment, too. There are a lot of changes, some of them within the division coming as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
I know Christmas is over with.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't get your neon sign that you needed for your man cave or your bar, go to Saturday Neon, and they'll take care of you. They're two college buddies who came up with this idea for officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs. You've seen them at the bars. You've seen them throughout, your life in sports venues, anything. Neon signs, they're must-have items. And though they don't have every Big 12 team, they've got Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma. Well, Texas isn't in the big.
No, nor is Oklahoma.
Sorry,
yeah.
God dang it.
Yeah.
Regional teams: Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas. We're going to browbeat them into a TCU sign, and they will make your own sign. They'll custom make you a sign for like your business, or if you just have a real high opinion of yourself. So head over to SaturdayNeon.com, use the code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign.
Yeah, so we talk about the stuff on this rugged road. Oh, geez.
Oh, boy.
Must have been here. Oh, yeah, there's still stuff in our rugged road here. Luds, what's wrong, Luds? Anyway, you can tell just by me holding this and grabbing it. It's sturdy. It's wonderful. The workmanship is unbelievable. The hardware on this is really good. It's a rugged road cooler. It's also very light. It is also floats, right? It's very versatile. You can take it camping. You can take it fishing. You can take it while you're out tubing out on the river. So anything you want to do with this rugged road cooler, it's good. 7 days at least things will stay cold in this rugged road cooler. It's that well insulated, even though it is so light. So go to ruggedroad.com and use the promo code DLLS to get 10% off your rugged road cooler. All right, let's get to our Now Pitching for the Texas Rangers, Kumar Rocker. Remember, we aren't saying Kumar. It's Kumar.
Kumar.
Like Lamar. So
yes.
It's an interesting thing. There are, as we go through back and forth through our, starting five, in the rotation at the beginning of the year, Rocker sometimes is in there and sometimes he's not. And that's a good thing, as we've said, pitching depth. But assuming he is, we also have to assume, Jeff, that he will have a year where they are monitoring his workload very closely.
Correct. This guy was a workhorse at Vanderbilt, maybe to his detriment there, his second full season ahead of the 21 draft. Sorry. He's been hurt. Shoulder injury that kept the Mets from signing him in 21. Ended up having a little surgery. At least it was called surgery a little by Scott Boras, but nobody really knows the extent. Nobody knew about the surgery until about a month before the draft. And then he pitches pitches pretty well for the Rangers, and then hurts his arm. So his elbow, needs Tommy John surgery. So he hasn't thrown a big amount of innings for a long time. And so, the Rangers are going to watch him. Yeah, now he's a big dude, no doubt about it. Looks like a guy who's going to be able to go 7-8 innings at some point in his career. And maybe it happens a time or two this year, but I certainly think that the Rangers are going to be cautious with this guy. He was their 2022 first round pick, 3rd overall. He looks like he's going to be a really good major league pitcher, and it's going to happen this season. Now, maybe it happens the first week when he's in the rotation. Maybe he breaks camp with them. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe that's part of the Rangers' development plan for him. He's still a developing player. Maybe he goes down and spends a month in Round Rock and continues to build up his arm strength, and then come May, boom, he's in the rotation. I don't know. Those things will be sorted out in spring training, but it certainly appears as if he will be a fixture in 2025 on the pitching staff.
Yeah, he's a huge part of the future, perhaps the immediate future. It's amazing when you look at what he did after the Tommy John surgery, when he got to AA and then AAA.
Right.
And absolutely dominated. I mean, it wasn't even close. It was silly how dominant this guy was at those two levels.
Yeah, it was 5 innings, 2 hits.
Yeah.
4 2/3, 1 hits, and pretty much double-digit strikeouts every time. That was at Frisco. Then he moves up to Round Rock, and his first start there, I believe, he was pitching against Yamamoto, who was making a rehab start for the Oklahoma City club, which is the Dodgers AAA affiliate. And it's like 5 no-hit innings with 10 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And it's like, my God. And I wasn't sure there was any need to bring him to the major leagues this year. The Rangers felt differently, obviously. His first start was at Seattle, and he struck out, I think, 7. Mm-hmm. He did seem to have trouble in his 3 big league starts with his command. The slider is a nasty pitch, but it's got to be thrown for a strike. It's got to, or at least it's got to look like a strike for a lot longer before it dives out of the strike zone. So there were some rough patches, but he seemed composed throughout the whole situation. Worked out of trouble, didn't give in, and in certain cases limited damage. So it looked good, even though it wasn't his best.
Right.
So if the best is still to come with him. And there'll be some competition, in for the rotation. DeGrom is in, Evaldi is in, Gray appears to be in. You would think Malley is in because of the contract.
Yeah.
So then you're going to have Dane Dunning, Cody Bradford, Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, all kind of competing for that
Sure.
last spot. And then what happens to the 3 who don't win it? Do you send some of them to the minors, preserve your minor league depth? Does you're going to need, because of the aforementioned innings issues with DeGrom and Rocker and Malley, you're going to need relievers who can pitch multiple innings behind them. Piggyback system. Is that what happens with Dunning and Leiter and Bradford? Well, I don't know. The Rangers just have signed 5 guys, 5 bullpen arms this offseason, and still need a 6th with the closer. So it's going to be pretty interesting. There's going to be a lot of internal competition. You hope that brings out the best in the guys. At least that's the theory, the old iron sharpens iron thing. So it's spring training. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you do think that from those 3, I think you keep at least 1, right? 2, maybe 2, to be long men, right? I think most of the guys that have been signed, you're not thinking about, oh, geez, this guy spit the bit in the first inning. We need someone to go 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Dane Dunning has proven he can do that, right? And we'd think these other guys who have been starters to this point probably have that capability as well.
Yeah. To your point, the guys who've signed, Milner has and Armstrong have gone last year, got at least 6 outs a handful of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are guys who you're going to want to be able to have available in back-to-back nights.
Yes.
And so if one of them is needed to go 2 2/3, well, he's going to be down for a few days. So that's kind of the balance, that they're trying to strike here. And again, if they sign a closer, you really only have 2 spots open. I don't necessarily know that Robert Garcia has made the team. The guy who they got for Nathaniel Lowe, he does have options. I mean, he pitched a full season in the majors last year and wasn't half bad. So it's these young guys are going to have to work if they're going to want to make the big league team.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that is what every single coach, every single general manager, every single really owner, if he's paying attention, wants, right? Is that type of competition especially at spring training, but really throughout the season. And that spirit of competition does, as Jeff says, the iron sharpens iron thing. I mean, that brings out the best in really everybody. And if it doesn't bring out the best in you, well, sorry about you. Right?
Yeah,
then the other guy wins.
Well, that's one thing that Chris Young has made pretty clear here the last few years is that this is a performance-based game.
Yeah.
And if you're not performing, they're going to move you out. They want to win the World Series again, and they're going to put the best 13 pitchers, the best 13 hitters on the roster. And if somebody's knocking at the door at AAA and somebody's kind of stinking it up at, I don't know, the fifth or sixth inning guy might see somebody go down.
Yeah, sure,
really
absolutely, absolutely, because that's the beauty of pitching depth. We just mentioned there's probably going to be at least 2 of those guys that we were talking about that you think have really bright futures for the Rangers who might well land in AAA at least to start the season. So it's a beautiful thing to have this type of depth, and again, we think it I guess increases a little bit when the Rangers sign a closer, because we both still think that is what the Rangers are going to do. They love Chris Martin. He'd be a great 8th inning guy, but I don't think they see a guy who's only got 14 career saves as their closer for this year, or, obviously at 38 years old, not for the future. So we think they're still going to sign another closer, which adds to the number of arms in camp and adds to the depth that this team has, and depth obviously is a good thing. The other thing, though, with regard to Rocker and his sort of being very careful with him, is just the concern about you're only 10 to 20% more than you pitched the previous year. Otherwise, the arm is in peril again.
Yeah, and he didn't throw a ton of innings, but I would think the magic number is somewhere between 100 and 120 for him this year, where he was in college. Beyond that, though, it gets kind of dicey. And if this team does want to go to the postseason, but they're in the hunt, and have to win a spot in September, how are they going to manage him?
Yeah.
And so you can expand the rosters by 1 pitcher in September. So it's a little help, but it's not probably enough help. So I don't know. I mean, it's only January 7th. So we've got a ways to go.
Got a lot of time, and yet, even though that's the case, I mean, I basically think as we talk this through daily, which we love doing, I basically think, and I saw somebody on X, I think, say that they thought the Rangers were done. We don't. I'm pretty sure they're not. That said, I think if they get that closer, they're done. And so it's and again, you're never done, right?
Right.
They're going to be scouring every waiver wire, everything all throughout spring training. You're never done, but their needs will have been met if they get the closer. And this, to me, is a really good thing for the Rangers, especially since we assume that'll happen before spring training. So you go to spring training with what is a roster that you can win with.
Yeah, and you're not, the last few years the Rangers have added guys during spring training.
Late sometimes,
and, in 23 they added some pretty key contributors. I mean, Will Smith, I know people got kind of cringy when he got in the game in the second half, but Will Smith was great in the first half.
He really was.
Robbie Grossman had a really key role on that 23 team. He was signed after camp had started. So, yeah, if the right opportunity presents itself, the Rangers will find a way to make it work.
Will Smith also had the greatest walk-in music ever. Got Me in a Stranglehold, Baby, by Terrible Ted Nugent. Man, that was great.
Detroit. All right.
That would fire you up walking into a game with Will Smith and Stranglehold. So, and he did have a lot of guys in a stranglehold, by the way, that first half of 2023. More coming. It's our cleanup segment. Man, there's a lot going on in the game today. It seems like everybody is busy this offseason. It's next in our cleanup segment, DLLS Rangers podcast. You got any today? I'm wearing it.
Yeah, I got underneath. I've got the For the Love.
I didn't notice this till I moved it, but I've got the matching solo cup.
Oh, very good.
The thing, right? So I can just keep that right here. But this is really, I really think if you held my feet to fire, it's my favorite. I like the way the green pops on the navy. But the other thing about it, super smooth, super soft, easy. Wash it, dry it, hang it back up. I hang mine.
Yeah, I hang mine.
Oh, you do too, yeah.
Yeah, well, I had to. I ran out of drawer space for my T-shirts.
Mine get kind of wonky in the drawer, so I end up hanging them.
Well, when you have like 13 of them,
yeah,
you gotta have a big drawer. You gotta have a DLLS only drawer.
Yeah, you gotta have a big drawer. So anyway, we love this merchandise. More coming. Hats are coming. There is other stuff on there now too. Shot glasses and tumblers and things like that. So go to the store.allcitynetwork.com and find yourself some real cool DLLS merch today.
Yeah, and if you become a diehard member, like we said, you get a free shirt every year. Okay, so $79.99 a year. You get not just Rangers coverage behind the paywall, everything we cover that's behind the paywall, which includes the Mavs, the Stars, and the now done for the year Cowboys. But I have a feeling the Cowboys are going to be in the news pretty much every day here for a while. So again, allcity.com, join, become a diehard, read my stuff, Clarence Hill stuff, Tim Cato stuff, Sam Nesser stuff. John Radigan's going to write every once in a while. He's got good stuff to say. The TV deal's about to hit.
Yeah,
we're going to have all the details for that. And you get 20% off the events we're going to start to have. If we take any trips, you'll get first crack at those. So alldls.com and become a diehard today.
All right, let's clean this thing up. My goodness, there's a lot going on. First, we, of course, like to get going with the saga, the Sasaki saga. I didn't see anything on him today. Did you, Jeff?
No, I think, just the conference call with Joel Wolf was last Monday.
Yep.
The 30th. At the time, Sasaki was in Japan. I'm assuming, maybe too much of an assumption, that he's in the United States by now. He's got to get the ball rolling here. He's got 16 days to sign, which he's going to do. The international signing period starts a week from tomorrow. A lot of people are kind of, in purgatory, I guess, waiting to see what's going to happen. If he's going to take trips to these cities, you figure a day at the most, but still, that's a lot of getting to the airport, hopping on the private jet. He's not flying commercial.
No.
Landing, going to the airport, relaxing if you can, talking, all kinds of stuff that has to happen, and it needs to kind of happen now because these negotiations, it may come down to a few teams where he's split decision. He's got to make up his mind. So maybe he's negotiating with both teams or three teams at once. But I really think that, and I've said it, get him more FaceTime with Chris Young. Big deal. Get him to this ballpark. Let him see everything that the Rangers have to offer their players in the home clubhouse. It's a joke how much unbelievable state-of-the-art things they have. Nobody else in baseball has what the Rangers have for their home clubhouse. And again, when you're talking Sasaki, the word is that he wants the best opportunity to develop, take advantage of the technologies that the team has, the resources that the team has, and the ballpark is a big one for the Rangers. Not just because of the roof, but because of the kitchen, specialized foods, the training tables, the pools, it's crazy everything they have, and it's going to knock his socks off, I think.
Well, and a week ago today was also the day we met Jock Peterson at the ballpark, and we asked him, of course, when he was with the Dodgers, their home clubhouse for that World Series was the Rangers' home clubhouse, right? And so he couldn't believe it. He went on and called it the Four Seasons. He said, coming in here is like going into the Four Seasons. And I think this will tell you how voluminous and how big and how sprawling the Rangers clubhouse is. He was saying on the up on the podium that day, I mean, and we were here then and we saw the two pools, the cold pool, the hot pool. You can watch a football game. And, of course, that year the NFL was going strong at the time that the World Series was going on. You can sit there and do your work and watch a football game on 3 different screens. And he was just taught 4 seasons. He says, and since then, they've added a barbershop. Well, they had a barbershop then. I mean, the barbershop's been there since the beginning. So he never saw the barbershop that first year in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, the gym where they work out, it's like a 24-hour fitness. There's 2 levels.
Better. Yeah.
So I think that's a big feather in the Rangers' hat when it comes to wooing Sasaki, because the ballparks in Japan, there are some ballparks that don't even have grass infields. It's kind of crazy, but it's true. And I think that he's going to just see this place if the Rangers make his second cut, and be like, this place is pretty darn good.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, why not do this one? So there's your Sasaki update. Some action around the division that we want to talk about. How about the Athletics, the A's? Formerly of Oakland, who have signed Brent Rooker to a 6-year contract extension, Jeff.
That's pretty good. I think it has a chance to be 6 years.
Yeah, it's a 3. Yeah. It's a 3+3 or something like that.
Yeah. The options
there's
are so
a vesting
affordable
option
that he'll be able
and all
to
that.
pick them up. The A's. Yeah. Hey, they've spent money this offseason. They know what their future is. Their future is not the AA ballpark. That's their immediate future. Long range, they're going to be in Las Vegas, where in theory fans are going to flock. It's going to be a great trip for visiting fans. I know that's the case with the NFL team there. Fans who travel with their NFL team, they see Las Vegas and they book it. I mean, and it's a fun weekend. So I just think that this is in anticipation of that. Rooker's a nice player, man, and he was hurt at the end of last year. He got that cleaned up this offseason. He's going to hit you a lot of home runs. He can be very streaky, but he still ran into, I think, 38 home runs last year, so that's pretty good. And again, they're locking. They've got some good young players, and now you sprinkle in some veterans, and hopefully by the time that ballpark is ready, where the Trop used to be, you can. Have a team that's ready to compete. Yeah, and they not Tropicana Field, by the way, not that Trop, the Tropicana Hotel and Resort. But anyway, the one thing to remember about Rooker is that he's 30, so he's young, but he's not young. He was just a late bloomer, right? He developed late. Yeah, Nelly Cruz,
30 years old, sure. but he's a young player.
Yeah, and we talked about Nelly earlier. Nelly. It took him a while to get the majors, and then he became, hit 400 plus home runs in his career, and
stayed for a long time. Stayed well into his 40s.
Right.
So, So anyway, it's actually nice to see the A's doing this, and again, miraculously in some years, and last year might be counted as one of them. They put together an awfully nice team, even when they spend nothing, right? And and last year they didn't spend anything, but they had a good team.
They were good in the second half. They really were. Lawrence Butler's a guy who's going to be a really good player for a long time. Does a little bit of everything. So they've got a nice little group. Mason Miller, the closer, throws it through a wall, and if they have a lead late in the games, they're going to get it. They're going to get it done.
Michael Lorenzen resigns with the Royals.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. You know.
I like Michael a lot. He was a good guy, very thoughtful in his answers, terrific shape, hard worker, wears the Vans, tremendous athlete, two-way player in college. And there's the deal where he, I don't know if you saw it, last month, where he and his agent were looking at classifying him as a two-way player, which would help a team fill 2 roster spots with one guy, or one you know what I'm saying? One guy doing 2 things and give them some roster flexibility. I don't think he's done the outfield enough lately, though, so he'd have to step it up and hopefully not hurt himself in the process, getting ready for taking him away from his main job. But he's a guy who's gonna go out there and compete. That's the thing, and he's in such tremendous shape. Wow, yeah, good deal for the Royals.
Yeah, and that American League Central, continues to look like last year. We wondered if it was going to be worth anything, and it continues to look good. I think the Guardians will be back in a good position. The Tigers are up and coming, and the Royals. I mean, those 3 teams were battling it out last year too.
Yeah, that's a heck of a division.
And the Twins. I mean,
yeah. It's solid. Okay, White Sox notwithstanding. That was that. Solid division.
That was a fun race last year. There's no doubt about that. So that's it on that front. Now, the Dodgers finally let somebody go, right?
Yeah.
Every time we talk about the Dodgers, it's, they spent this much. Oh, they got Kim, whatever, however say his name.
Kim is good.
Yeah, and anyway, because of Kim, they had a glut of infielders, and they have traded Gavin Lux to the Reds. And, for a smaller market team like the Reds, it's a good deal. They didn't have to give up a ton for him, and he's controllable still for another couple of years.
Yeah, he missed an opportunity, I think, a couple of years ago where he hurt his arm and had to have Tommy John surgery to finally slide into an everyday role. And then he just started off so poorly this last season. But, he was a fixture in their lineup and played a lot in the postseason. But yeah, you're to the point now where if you're the Dodgers, you can't upgrade. I mean, this guy was a former top 10 prospect in the game. Just hasn't lived up to it. Not to say he won't, but the old fresh start cliche gets thrown around. Chance for him to go to Cincinnati, which has a young team, kind of be a quasi-veteran, really, bring a ton of experience with him, and help that team get better. Jonathan India. Former rookie of the year. He's been in and out of the Reds lineup, and it just seems like with Lux, you're getting a left-handed bat. The ball flies there for lefties, so good fit all the way around. And now the Reds have another good player. Yeah. They weren't a bad team a few years ago.
No, they weren't, and they seem to be. I mean, again, they made 2 trades yesterday, as they also acquired Owen White, as we know, from the Rangers yesterday. So they've been pretty active, the Reds, this offseason, and we'll see how all that pans out for them. It is the other league, so we don't pay as close.
Although the Rangers face the Reds the second series of the season.
Okay, so we got to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
All right,
so it could be a little chilly.
Yeah. Up there. Oh, it's up there.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be damn chilly. I'll tell you that right now.
And that damn skyline chilly. Ugh.
I can't.
Not a fan.
Oh man, I'm not either. They put too much cheese on top of it.
It's a lot of cheese. It's a lot of cheese.
It's just crazy cheese. I like cheese. I'm fine with cheese on my chili, but it's like stacked up this high. Anyway, that's a story for another day and a chat for another day. I am mad because yesterday we had it on the rundown to talk about Gavin Lux, and we ran out of time. I was just going to say, hey, the Dodgers are shopping him, and then they traded him. I would have looked smart.
Coop, our good friend Coop just chimed in. Jonathan India has been traded to the Royals, so not like today. Apparently, it happened a while ago. But anyway, so there's your
thanks. Coop.
There's your Reds glut. It's that other league. We just don't know.
Yeah, we appreciate you though. And now another one. The Mets will have reportedly met with Tanner Scott. Now the Mets have Edwin Diaz. I mean,
yeah. The rich get richer.
Huh? Good God, are you going to bring Tanner Scott, who's essentially considered the best closer among the free agents right now? You're going to bring him in to be your 8th inning guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's done that in the past. He did it in the postseason with the Dodgers. And there's been a lot of closer talk here. Kirby Yates Do we still think Yates is an option? For sure. I would think that's might be the best deal for the Rangers financially. And then Ryan Halsey, the Cardinals guy. I would say those are the top two guys. Halsey makes a lot of sense because he's from the other league. You know, there can be closer fatigue if it's the same guy in the same division, unless it's just an outstanding, remarkable guy like Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman. You know, these teams will see these closers enough. They're like, all right, that's just the guy.
I can hit him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the show for today. We appreciate you joining us. There is so much to talk about during these baseball off seasons. Hot stove is still heating up, and we'll be back again tomorrow with another show. And tomorrow on the weekly show, it's a big day. You'll want to tune in for that, and we'll have some highlights of this if you miss it. But on the weekly show tomorrow, Jeff's going to have, with John Moore, our buddy John Moore, he's going to have Josh Young, yes?
Yes, we're going to have Josh Young to talk about wiffle ball. He's got an event Sunday at the ballpark. So wiffle ball and just see how he's doing. It's been a while since anybody's heard from him.
Yeah, nice to catch up with Josh. We'll hear from him on this show later in the week as well. But for now, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow at noon for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.